If you thought the Absolute Universe was only interested in reinventing Gotham and Earth, Absolute Green Lantern 13 just blew the doors wide open to the rest of the cosmos. This week, we are leaving Standard Sector Patrol behind and jumping straight to the planet Rann. We are talking the introduction of Sardoth, the debut of Zeta Beam Tech, and a massive shadowy conspiracy where Sinestro is directing Rack Shea to hunt down our lanterns. But trust me, it is the final page that is going to have the comic community talking all week. Did Absolute Universe just give us our first look at Adam Strange? Grab your ring because we need to break this one down. That's right, guys. Absolute Green Lantern 13 just makes a major shift from where we've kind of experienced over the last year. So there is a lot to cover in this issue and even more lore to kind of explain. So we're going to take our time, but let's go ahead and get on into the issue. It's been over a year, and we finally get an Absolute Green Lantern that starts out different. Well, kinda. Instead of seeing the black rings in the 4 sections, we get something that looks like it was out of my old Commodore 64. It would appear at first glance that these different levels of light are programs running. Black Star seems to be optimally running, while red, green, and gold are running as expected. But this new color we saw from Hal last issue is an unknown. Truly a Tomar. So now we go to the planet Rann. Okay, guys. So kind of quick cut in here. The planet Rann is actually in our normal DC universe is home to Adam Strange, who was an archaeologist back on Earth, and he was actually hit with Zeta Beam technology that teleported him to Rann. And it's also Rann is one of the key locations in the Rann Thanagar War. And Rann is actually located in Alpha Centauri, which is the closest, I don't want to say galaxy, the closest tri-starred system to ours. Alpha Centauri is the closest star to our own. So a little bit of backstory here. Just wanted to kind of throw that in there. All right, let's get back to it. And we see Sinestro on the viewing screens, not looking too happy about the growing Tomar situation. And if you remember, we haven't really got much of Sinestro yet. But here we find out that the Overseer thinks he might be a little controlling. Or maybe controller is just his name. I kid. But anyways, it is interesting that they're trying to convert people to the Black Star way. And it seems like this guy might be absolute Adam Strange, even making a point to say that I am a stranger. But I bet all of my barter tokens that Sinestro is the controller of all of the levels of light, not just the normal yellow, or I kind of guess in this universe they're focused more on gold than yellow. He mentions the Abin Sur stationed on Earth and how he is the one sending Mogo to Earth, which we already knew from previous issues, but it would seem Tomar Ray was successful in recruiting Joe and joining him in the fight because the big ass Green Lantern is heading his way. However, it will pass by Rann. I do love, however, that Sinestro says, assign every black hand you have. And then, of course, fake ass Strange over there is like, assign all 2 of them. I don't know. That's just funny to me. Maybe it's just me. But it is time for the next meeting. And it is here that we meet Sardoth. Now, in our universe, Sardoth, and if I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, you know how I am about names. We'll just move on past it, guys. But he was, in our normal universe, a scientist from the planet Rann who invented the Zeta Beam tech. However, we get to see it at its conception because, according to him, as of right now, it's merely a communication device, which is how it began. It would also seem that the Overseer has some Black Star planetary Overseer standard issue gear, the M-Vest, otherwise known as the Madness Vest, primarily worn by Rack Shade, the Changing Man in our universe. And I feel like they tried to fool us with the whole Strange thing because this is Rack Shade, otherwise known as Carrot Top. Some of you might not get that reference. That's fine. And as they try to acquire more information about the Zeta Beam tech, we learn that Sardoth's daughter, Alanna, has been sent to the meta zone, where the truth of reality is held, or so they say. I wouldn't go getting a timeshare just yet. And it would seem that the sacred laser has done its job on Alanna, as she is now of the Black Star Way. After all, the sacred laser cuts out all childish things like rebellion. Wish we could get one of those here. And I know what you're thinking. Comics are not childish, so we are fine. But Alanna isn't, as she puts the gun to her father's head and she is ready to do what is required under Medan Crime Code. Meta being the home world of Rackshade, for those who don't know. So now it is off to her father's lab to discover the true nature of Zeta Beam tech, as the Cagecraft is getting ready to intercept the Green Lantern. And while his daughter discovers what he has done to the Zeta Beam, seems we may actually have a teleporter already on our hands. And as they're discussing who her father might have been talking to, we see what looks like someone getting pulled into the Zeta Beam from a different area. And as Alanna is talking about her father, someone or something seems to be coming through the beam on their side. And we see a redheaded woman come through and immediately kick some Black Star ass. And once they get the translator up and working and they're able to understand each other, we learn that this is Emily Hawk, OSS Agent 0. Now, if you're wondering why that name doesn't sound familiar, it is because there is no Emily Hawk in DC. At least there wasn't until now. However, she may be based on another character, and she mentions Baron Blitzkrieg, which we know is from Earth in the World War II era. And we also know that the Blackhawks have fought him before. So we have Blackhawks, Emily Hawk. I could be reaching. Let me know down in the comments what you think. But the way this issue is going, who knows? However, Hawk isn't done making a mess of the place, as we see her dispatch more of the Black Star soldiers. But when she runs into the Overseer with the Invest, is this going to be too much for her? What will she see? Apparently, not enough to keep her from snapping Shade's neck. Well, the Cagecraft has engaged the Lantern, and with the boss not responding due to his untimely demise and all, I guess that's Hawk's cue to leave. Or rather vanish? Back to the zones of madness. Maybe to get a glimpse behind the mask? Alright guys, and that is where this issue ends. Now, let me know down in the comments, who are you thinking? We have seen this silver masked guy before, but we got a brief glimpse of him, but now that we've kind of seen this fuller version of him, and that this entire issue dealt with Rann and the Zeta Beam tech, and we know the way it was making it sound, everything kind of was leading us to think that the original Overseer guy was Adam Strange. Could this silver masked guy that is in the M zone right now, could this be absolute Adam Strange? It kind of seems like they could be setting it up, but let me know down in the comments what you think, as well as how did you feel about this one? Because this was a completely different shift from what we've seen over the last year in Absolute Green Lantern. So I'm curious to know your thoughts. And if you have made it with me this far, and you can deal with the eyes because the lights are burning here, you might as well go ahead and give the video a like. Consider subscribing to the channel and having the bell notifications clicked as we release everything coming out in the Absolute universe, as well as we are kind of starting to break into the all-in next level and Justice League Unlimited still. And that is going to do it for me on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, guys, I'll see you then.